What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Now, I am stoked for this week's video because I'm going to show you how to fuse Sigmarus in just one weekend. Now, you might be wondering, how advanced is this account or how far are you in? So I wanted to start this video by going into my profile and showing you on our record that we are only 42 days into the game and we officially have Sigmarus maxed 6-star, level 40, with some decent runes. So a couple of pre-qualifiers that I want to go through before we dive into this video is that you can fuse Sigmarus pretty early on in the game if you get lucky or you're really dedicated, but I recommend fusing him about 20 to 40 days in, because if you've followed my other guides or watched my other videos, you'll know that you should be grinding Giants B10 like crazy. You should be doing all the events and you're going to get mystical scrolls. And the mystical scrolls are going to give you the fodder that you need to essentially fuse Sigmarus. So for Sigmarus to fuse, we end up needing, 13 3-star monsters that we can take into 3 4-star monsters and 1 3-star monster that we turn into Sigmarus. So I want to walk you through specifically how to fuse Sigmarus in about 72 hours if you've got the time. So the first trick to fusing Sigmarus is that you want to fuse him on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's because in Summoner's War on Friday, all of the halls of elements open. So you've got the Hall of Light, the Hall of Dark, the Hall of Fire, the Hall of Water, and the Hall of Wind. To fuse Sigmarus, you're going to need a lot of essence, and you're going to need a couple of secret dungeons. So let's start by talking about why Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, first things first, on Friday you can grind essence, on Saturday you can grind essence, and then on Sunday you can essentially level up the monsters and do all of the, grinding for experience that you need to do. So first thing is you're going to start on Friday, and you're going to grind the Hall of Fire, the Hall of Water, and the Hall of Wind. Now, I'll put these numbers in the description below so you have them, but in order to fuse Sigmarus, you need the following fire essence: 10 high, 71 medium, and 40 low essence. For water, you need 30 high essence, 87 mid essence, and 50 low essence. And for wind, you need 10 high essence, 65 mid essence, and 50 low essence. If you grind all of those, a couple of things are going to happen. One, you are going to find secret dungeons along the way, which may help you. You're also going to realize that you get some mystical scrolls, you get some unknown scrolls, and those are going to help you get additional fodder for your leveling, as well as potentially get you some of the monsters that you need. Now, we're not relying on that to get the monsters that we need, and I'll talk about what monsters you need to have going into this in just a second. But if you grind those essence all day Friday and a little bit of Saturday, then you're going to spend the rest of Saturday grinding the Hall of Magic. And in the Hall of Magic, you need 30 high essence, 160 mid essence, and 100 low essence. Now, I talk about this in one of my other videos, so I won't go too in depth into it here, but for each of these, you do not need to grind level B10. It is marginally different to grind B8 versus B10 and still get a similar quality of mid and high essence, and low you will get as a consequence of running these. So you're going to be fighting mostly for mid and high essence to make this happen. And regardless of if you're in the Hall of Magic or the Hall of Essence, you really just want to grind B8. So make a mental note of that. You want to grind B8. Now, what you're going to do is grind those on Friday and Saturday. What you're also going to do on Friday and Saturday is join channel 1050 on the global server. And what you'll see on channel 1050, which I've talked about in some of my other videos, is that this is a secret dungeon channel. This is where people go when they're grinding the secret dungeon and when they're looking for secret dungeons. So there's a couple of monsters, we're going to talk about them in a minute, that you can get from secret dungeons that you need to fuse Sigmarus. So that's what you're going to do on Friday and Saturday is get all of your essence. And then Sunday is going to be a day of grinding. Now, let's talk about the monsters that you need to fuse Sigmarus. So first things first, you can get a lot of these monsters from secret dungeons or even from the scenarios themselves. The two monsters that you're going to want to have before you go into fusing Sigmarus is the Wind Amazon and the Water Martial Cat. Those you get from Mystical Scrolls, and those are essentially the only place to get them. If you've been playing for an extended period of time, like 23 to 4 weeks, and you've done events, and you've done GB10, and you've done essentially everything that you need to do to get Mystical Scrolls and advance in the game, you're going to have a Wind Amazon, you're going to have a Water Martial Cat. Everything else you can obtain outside of that. So I'm going to list, and I'll also put this in the description as well, where you can get each of these monsters. So the Wind Harpy that you need, you can get inside of the Kabir ruins. The Wind Amazon we talked about you'll want to get from a Mystical Scroll. The Fire High Elemental you can get from Vrofagus ruins. Konamiya you can get from Unknown Scrolls or the Magic Shop, which we're going to talk about in a little bit as well. And then Fire Werewolf you can get from Vrofagus ruins as well. The Fire Magical Archer you can get as a secret dungeon, or you may have summoned her in a Mystical Scroll up to this point, but she is one of the secret dungeons you want to watch out for. Same thing with the Water Golem. He's a secret dungeon, or you can get him from Mystical Scrolls leading up to this point. And then the Wind Howl you get from Unknown Scrolls or from the Magic Shop. And then the Water Ingonami you get from the Garen Forest. Water Griffin is another secret dungeon to watch for, or a Mystical Scroll. The Wind Bearman is a secret dungeon or a Mystical Scroll. And the Fire Yeti is a secret dungeon or a Mystical Scroll. And then, like we said, the Martial Cat you need to get from a Mystical Scroll. Okay? You could, in theory, get the Martial Cat or the Wind Amazon from an Unknown Scroll, but we're just talking about what is most efficient. So once you've gotten all that awakening material, what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you have all these 13 monsters, the 4 it takes to create Orang, the 4 it takes to create Jojo, and the 4 it takes to create Susano, plus the Water Martial Cat, and you're going to wake them all up. You're going to awaken them one at a time, okay? Once you do that, you then take your Lapis that you have runed up from the original challenge. You're going to go to the Feynman level 1 on Hell mode, and you're basically just going to grind those 3-star monsters up to 4-star, okay? So you grind those monsters up to 3-star. You then level them up to 4-star, just like you would with a 6-star monster. And then once they're 4-star max, you're then going to level them up to Orang, Jojo, and Susano, okay? Now, this is where it starts to get tricky because you need to create 1, 2, 3, 4 5-star monsters. So it's almost like creating a 6-star monster to get all the material for Sigmarus. Now, once you create the Wind Orang or the Wind Nine-Tailed Fox, the Fire Joker, the Water Ninja, they won't be awakened, but you, by following this guide, will have enough awakening material to wake all of them up and still have leftover for Sigmarus. So you don't need to worry about them, but you will need to wake them up and then bring them to Sigmarus. Now, a couple of tips here. By grinding the Essence Dungeons consistently, you should have a whole bunch of Unknown Scrolls, but you are going to run low on fodder. If you run out of fodder, you're going to come into the Magic Shop and buy silver 2-star monsters and Unknown Scrolls, okay? Now, yes, it's not the most efficient, and yes, it costs crystals, but if you're low on fodder, you can absolutely do this to get additional fodder. And like I talked about earlier, you'll see that when you're doing this, you'll also have a chance to get the Wind Howl and the Water Garuda Konamiya. Okay, so you also need to get those from the shop. So if you run low on fodder, go to the shop and get Unknown Scrolls and silver 2-stars. I don't recommend the gold 2-stars because they're a little more expensive and they're not the most efficient bang for your buck, but they are worth getting the 2-star silver monsters because essentially what you pay for unknown scrolls statistically, you're paying about the same to get those silver 2-star monsters. Okay, so once you've done all that, you're then going to come back once you've taken all of these monsters to 5-star awakened, and you fuse Sigmarus. And then you end up with a nice Sigmarus that you can use. Now, I'll be honest, my Sigmarus is a little squishy. He doesn't have great HP, but if you're watching this guide and you also want to know how to rune him, I recommend Fatal Blade to get started and try to get his HP over like 12 to 15,000 if you can. You'll notice that our Sigmarus has great attack, a great crit rate and crit damage, but he's way too squishy. So just an FYI, if you're looking to get started, you really want to do an attack, crit damage, or crit rate attack, and you want him to be really high attack monster. So Fatal Blade for Sigmarus once you get him up to speed. Now, if you are watching this video, do me a quick favor, like, subscribe, and comment below if this was helpful to you. I will also put in the description each of the monsters that you need, where you can find them, and also all the essence that you need. And then just as a side note, one thing that I didn't mention is to do this, you'll want to start with about 2,000 crystals, okay? You may not need all 2,000, but that's a really good place to start for this process, and that will lead you to Sigmarus. So again, just a quick recap. In order to do this, you need to start with a couple of things. You want to start with the Water Martial Cat and the Wind Amazon, about 2,000 crystals to grind it out, and then you can get the rest of the monsters from either secret dungeons or from mystical scrolls or from the scenario runs. You want to be in channel 1050 on Friday and Saturday so that you're able to pay attention for potential secret dungeons that you need. And then you just spend 3 days grinding like a crazy person. Now, in total, it is going to take about 12 to 20 hours, depending on your teams, how fast you run, how lucky you are, your stats, all kinds of stuff. But if you commit a solid 20 hours, which I know is about 4 to 6 hours a day for 3 days, you will have Sigmarus. So again, if you got lots of value out of this video, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and comment below and let me know. Are you building Sig? Are you ready to crush TOA, GB10, and take your teams to the next level? If so, let me know in the comments, and until next time, keep gaming bananas.